Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Unfortunately, I don't have my cute assistants helping me now because Evie has gone up for a nap. Although Big Sister's dropping in before she goes and does some coloring. Hello.
Hi.
Do you have your shamrock?
Yes, I do. If you can see it on my shirt.
Mm-hmm. And I'm wearing some green.
And
some harps.
Green earrings.
My Guinness gear.
And her green glasses. She has
very green.
Another one of these that are red.
Mm-hmm.
And her green this, and then this says
Guinness,
which kind of works for St. Patrick's Day, because that's what you drink on St. Patrick's Day.
You're very well informed. That's true.
Kinda.
That's true. We don't have any St. Patrick's Day stories right now, but we've got some classics. So I was going to start. Oh,
we do have a book that is green.
We do have a book that's green in the middle of this. You're right.
Yes, we do.
Stasha and Evie picked the list for today. It's a lot of classics.
So I'm Stasha, and my younger sister's Eve.
That's right.
And she is napping.
Uh-huh. And they already had to listen to this once for regular story time that I recorded and posted to the wrong place. Okay, so here we go. Miss Rumphius.
How does this work?
How does what work? Go talk to Jen. She'll help you out.
Jen?
Okay, so we've got Miss Rumphius, Story and Pictures by Barbara Cooney. Here we go. The Lupin lady lives in a small house overlooking the sea. In between the rocks, around her house grow blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. The Lupin lady is little and old, but she has not always been that way. I know. She's my great-aunt, and she told me so. Once upon a time, she was a little girl named Alice, who lived in a city by the sea. From the front stoop, she could see the wharves and the bristling masts of tall ships. Many years ago, her grandfather had come to America on a large sailing ship. Now he worked in the shop at the bottom of the house, making figureheads for the prows of ships and carving Indians out of wood to put in front of cigar stores. For Alice's grandfather was an artist. He painted pictures, too, of sailing ships and places across the sea. When he was very busy, Alice helped him put in the skies. In the evening, Alice sat on her grandfather's knee and listened to his stories of faraway places. When he had finished, Alice would say, "When I grow up, I too will go to faraway places, and when I grow old, I too will live beside the sea." "That is all very well, little Alice," said her grandfather, "but there is a third thing you must do." "What is that?" asked Alice. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," said her grandfather. "All right," said Alice, but she did not know what that could be. In the meantime, Alice got up and washed her face and ate porridge for breakfast. She went to school and came home and did her homework. And pretty soon, she was grown up. Then my great-aunt Alice set out to do the 3 things she had told her grandfather she was going to do. She left home and went to live in another city, far from the sea and the salt air. There, she worked in a library, dusting books and keeping them from getting mixed up, and helping people find the ones they wanted. Some of the books told her about faraway places. People called her Miss Rumphius now. Sometimes she went to the conservatory in the middle of the park. When she stepped inside on a wintry day, the warm, moist air wrapped itself around her, and the sweet smell of jasmine filled her nose. "This is almost like a tropical isle," said Miss Rumphius, "but not quite." So Miss Rumphius went to a real tropical island, where people kept cockatoos and monkeys as pets. She walked on long beaches, picking up beautiful shells. One day, she met the Baba Raja, king of a fishing village. "You must be tired," he said. "Come into my house and rest." So Miss Rumphius went in and met the Baba Raja's wife. The Baba Raja himself fetched a green coconut and cut a slice off the top so that Miss Rumphius could drink the coconut water inside. Before she left, the Baba Raja gave her a beautiful mother-of-pearl shell on which he had painted a bird of paradise and the words, "You will always remain in my heart." "You will always remain in mine, too," said Miss Rumphius. My great-aunt, Miss Alice Rumphius, climbed tall mountains where the snow never melted. She went through jungles and across deserts. She saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping, and everywhere she made friends she would never forget. Finally, she came to the land of the lotus eaters, and there, getting off a camel, she hurt her back. What a foolish thing to do, said Miss Rumpus. Well, I have certainly seen faraway places. Maybe it's time to find my place by the sea. And it was, and she did. From the porch of her new house, Miss Rumpus watched the sun come up. She watched it cross the heavens and sparkle on the water, and saw it set in glory in the evening. She started a little garden among the rocks that surrounded her house, and she planted a few flower seeds in the stony ground. Miss Rumpus was almost perfectly happy. But there is still one more thing I have to do, she said. I have to do something to make the world more beautiful. But what? The world already is pretty nice, she thought, looking out over the ocean. The next spring, Miss Rumpus was not very well. Her back was bothering her again, and she had to stay in bed most of the time. The flowers she had planted the summer before had come up and bloomed in spite of the stony ground. She could see them from her bedroom window, blue and purple and rose-colored. Lupins, said Miss Rumpus with satisfaction. I've always loved lupins the best. I wish I could plant more seeds this summer so that I could have still more flowers next year. But she was not able to. After a hard winter, spring came. Miss Rumpus was feeling much better. Now she could take walks again. One afternoon she started to go up and over the hill where she had not been in a long time. I don't believe my eyes, she cried when she got to the top, for there, on the other side of the hill, was a large patch of blue and purple and rose-colored lupins. It was the wind, she said, as she knelt in delight. It was the wind that brought the seeds from my garden here, and the birds must have helped. Then Miss Rumpus had a wonderful idea. She hurried home and got out her seed catalogues. She sent off to the very best seed house for 5 bushels of lupin seeds. All that summer, Miss Rumpus, her pockets full of seeds, wandered over fields and headlands, sowing lupins. She scattered seeds along the highways and down the country lanes. She flung handfuls of them around the schoolhouse and back of the church. She tossed them into the hollows and along stone walls. Her back didn't hurt her any more at all. Now some people called her that crazy old lady. The next spring there were lupins everywhere. Fields and hillsides were covered with blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. They bloomed along the highways and down the lanes. Bright patches lay around the schoolhouse and back of the church. Down the hollows and along stone walls grew beautiful flowers. Miss Rumpus had done the third, the most difficult thing of all. My great-aunt Alice, Miss Rumpus, is... gotta go on the other side. My great-aunt Alice, Miss Rumpus, is very old now. Her hair is very white. Every year there are more and more lupins. Now they call her the Lupin Lady. Sometimes my friends stand with me outside her gate, curious to see the old lady who planted the fields of lupins. When she invites us in, they come slowly. They think she is the oldest woman in the world. Often she tells us stories of faraway places. When I grow up, I tell her, I too will go to faraway places and come home to live by the sea. That is all very well, little Alice, says my aunt, but there is a third thing you must do. What is that, I ask. You must do something to make the world more beautiful. All right, I say. But I do not know yet what that can be. All right, another classic, Corduroy by Don Freeman. I really need to improve my upside-down reading game. It's not good. Corduroy is a bear who once lived in the toy department of a big store. Day after day, he waited with all the other animals and dolls for somebody to come along and take him home. The store was always filled with shoppers buying all sorts of things, but nobody ever seemed to want a small bear in green overalls. Then one morning, a little girl stopped and looked straight into Corduroy's bright eyes. "Oh, Mommy," she said, "look, there's the very bear I've always wanted." "Not today, dear," her mother sighed. "I've spent too much already. Besides, he doesn't look new. He's lost the button to one of his shoulder straps." Corduroy watched them sadly as they walked away. "I didn't know I'd lost a button," he said to himself. "Tonight I'll go see if I can find it." Late that evening, when all the shoppers had gone and the doors were shut and locked, Corduroy climbed carefully down from his shelf and began searching everywhere on the floor for his lost button. Suddenly, he felt the floor moving under him. Quite by accident, he had stepped onto an escalator, and up he went. Could this be a mountain, he wondered? I think I've always wanted to climb a mountain. He stepped off the escalator as it reached the next floor, and there, before his eyes, was a most amazing sight. Tables and chairs and lamps and sofas and rows of beds. "This must be a palace," Corduroy gasped. "I guess I've always wanted to live in a palace." He wandered around admiring the furniture. "This must be a bed," he said. "I've always wanted to sleep in a bed." And up he crawled onto a large, thick mattress. All at once he saw something small and round. "Why, here's my button," he cried, and he tried to pick it up. But like all the other buttons on the mattress, it was tied down tight. He yanked and pulled with both paws until off came the button, and off the mattress Corduroy toppled. Bang! Into a tall floor lamp. Over it fell with a crash. Corduroy didn't know it, but there was someone else awake in the store. The night watchman was going his rounds on the floor above. When he heard the crash, he came dashing down the escalator. "Now, who in the world did that?" he exclaimed. "Somebody must be hiding around here." He flashed his light under and over sofas and beds until he came to the biggest bed of all. And there he saw 2 fuzzy brown ears sticking up from under the cover. "Hello," he said. "How did you get upstairs?" The watchman tucked Corduroy under his arm and carried him down the escalator and set him on the shelf in the toy department with the other animals and dolls. Corduroy was just waking up when the first customers came into the store in the morning, and there, looking at him with a wide, warm smile, was the same little girl he'd seen only the day before. "I'm Lisa," she said, "and you're going to be my very own bear. Last night I counted what I've saved in my piggy bank, and my mother said I could bring you home." "Shall I put him in a box for you?" the saleslady asked. "Oh, no, thank you," Lisa answered, and she carried Corduroy home in her arms. She ran all the way up 4 flights of stairs into her family's apartment and straight to her own room. Corduroy blinked. There was a chair and a chest of drawers, and alongside a girl-sized bed stood a little bed just the right size for him. The room was small, nothing like that enormous palace in the department store. "This must be home," he said. "I know I've always wanted a home." Lisa sat down with Corduroy on her lap and began to sew a button on his overalls. "I like you the way you are," she said, "but you'll be more comfortable with your shoulder strap fastened." "You must be a friend," said Corduroy. "I've always wanted a friend." "Me too," said Lisa, and gave him a big hug. All right. The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Once there was a tree, and she loved a little boy. And every day the boy would come, and he would gather her leaves and make them into crowns and play king of the forest. He would climb up her trunk and swing from her branches and eat apples. And they would play hide and go seek. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade. And the boy loved the tree very much, and the tree was happy. time went by, and the boy grew older. And the tree was often alone. Then one day the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come, boy, and climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and eat apples and play in my shade and be happy." "I'm too big to climb and play," said the boy. "I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money. Can you give me some money?" "I'm sorry," said the tree, "but I have no money. I have only leaves and apples. Take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. Then you will have money and you will be happy." And so the boy climbed up the tree and gathered her apples and carried them away. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and the tree was sad. And then one day the boy came back, and the tree shook with joy. And she said, "Come, boy, climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and be happy." "I'm too busy to climb trees," said the boy. "I want a house to keep me warm," he said. "I want a wife and I want children, so I need a house." "Can you give me a house?" "I have no house," said the tree. "The forest is my house, but you may cut off my branches and build a house. Then you will be happy." And so the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and when he came back, the tree was so happy she could hardly speak. "Come, boy," she whispered, "come and play." "I'm too old and sad to play," said the boy. "I want a boat that will take me far away from here. Can you give me a boat?" "Cut down my trunk and make a boat," said the tree. "Then you can sail away and be happy." And so the boy cut down her trunk and made a boat and sailed away. And the tree was happy, but not really. And after a long time, the boy came back again. "I'm sorry, boy," said the tree, "but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone. My teeth are too weak for apples," he said. "My branches are gone," said the tree. "You cannot swing on them." "I'm too old to swing on branches," said the boy. "My trunk is gone," said the tree. "You cannot climb." "I'm too tired to climb," said the boy. "I'm sorry," sighed the tree. "I wish that I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I'm just an old stump. I'm sorry." "I don't need very much now," said the boy. "Just a quiet place to sit and rest. I am very tired." "Well," said the tree, straightening herself up as much as she could, "well, an old stump is good for sitting and resting. Come, boy, sit down and rest." And the boy did, and the tree was happy. All right, these are two big selections from Evie, who's now napping, but these were her pre-nap choices. By the big red barn, in the great green field, there was a pink pig who was learning to squeal. There was a great big horse and a very little horse, and on every barn is a weather vane, of course, a golden flying horse. There was a big pile of hay and a little pile of hay, and that is where the children play. But in this story, the children are away. The sheep and the donkey, the geese and the goats were making funny noises down in their throats. And an old scarecrow was leaning on his hoe, and a field mouse was born in a field of corn. Cock-a-doodle-doo! In the barn there was a rooster and a pigeon too, and a big white hen standing on one leg, and under the hen was a quiet egg. There was a bantam rooster and a little bantam hen with a big clutch of eggs. Count them. There are 10. Cock-a-doodle-doo! Moo, moo. There was a big brown cow and a little brown cow. There was an old black cat, meow, meow, and a tiger tomcat, meow, meow. There was a big red dog, bow, wow, and some little puppy dogs, all round and warm. And they all lived together in the big red barn, and they played all day in the grass and in the hay. When the sun went down in the great green field, the big cow lowed and the little pig squealed. Oh, I'm doing a crummy job showing the pictures. The horses stomped in the sweet warm hay and the little donkey gave one last bray. The hens were sleeping on their nests. Even the roosters took a rest. The little black bats flew away out of the barn at the end of the day. And there they were all night long, sound asleep. In the big red barn. Where'd that picture go? In the big red barn. Only the mice were left to play, rustling and squeaking in the hay, while the moon sailed high in the dark night sky. All right. And here's our last book, The Napping House by Audrey Wood. There was a house, a napping house, where everyone was sleeping. And in that house there is a bed, a cozy bed, and a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that bed there is a granny, a snoring granny, and a cozy bed, and a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that granny there is a child, a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, and a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that child there is a dog, a dozing dog, and a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, and a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that dog there is a cat, a snoozing cat, on a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, and a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that cat there is a mouse, a slumbering mouse, on a snoozing cat, on a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, and a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that mouse there is a flea. Can it be a wakeful flea? On a slumbering mouse, on a snoozing cat, on a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, and a napping house where everyone is sleeping. A wakeful flea who bites the mouse, who scares the cat, who claws the dog, who thumps the child, who bumps the granny, who breaks the bed, in the napping house where no one now is sleeping. Sorry I screwed up trying to record earlier. Hope that was helpful to anybody. I don't know. Let me know if you have any requests. Let me know if this is helpful or not helpful at all. Thanks for watching. Bye.